Hello, so here's in a video, really pretty short video on how to work on looking at eBird data to come up with this spreadsheet of useful information from what people have reported from this year using eBird. I started typing out directions about this and I thought, it'd be a lot probably easier to understand is to show how to do this. So we're going to be utilizing two things. They're both online. One is ebird.org, which is a free website you can use, and then a Google Sheet. So like a spreadsheet on Google Sheets that I have already set up. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to share my screen. And what I have here first is eBird. So let's go back to the eBird homepage. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go to ebird.org. Just literally type in ebird.org. It's going to pull up a website that's really cool. So eBird is a wonderful way to report your own sightings as well as see what other people have reported, which is the main value of eBird, is to sort of group source information, and it gets used for all sorts of data projects. Okay, so we're going to go to ebird.org. We're going to go to Explore. So it's the Explore tab. You can hit Explore. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can look at, which I do recommend taking some time if you're interested in a species or a concept even. It's really fun to look around in here. The Science tab at the top is also really fun to explore. But this Explore tab has some things like bar charts, which we use sometimes. They're very useful. Explore hotspots, which lets you see, you can travel. These are great for when you're traveling. See what's around, what birds are at some of these active hotspots. And hotspots tend to be areas that are publicly accessible. So that's really nice. Helps you kind of plan a birding trip or just see if there's a great spot to go birding near your house or something. So that's fun. And then there's Explore or Search Photos and Sounds, which is fun. But the one we're interested in here is this species map option, where it's got a little map with some purple sort of graphics on it. So the species map tab is what we want. What you're going to do here is you're going to put in a species name, and this is valid for the whole world. So you could do a species from anywhere, but we're going to do purple martin. We're not going to do desert purple martin because not everybody, because purple martin's the full species, desert purple martin is a subspecies, and all the subspecies will get included in a species. So purple martin covers all our bases, and a lot of birders might put in just purple martin when they do an observation rather than desert purple martin. So we're just going to do purple martin. If you wanted to do desert purple martin, that's this one, the Hesperia. But we're just going to do general purple martin, which will include all of the types of purple martin. So you give it a moment to load, and you'll see it's going to zoom in. It's not going to zoom in, I guess, but it's going to show the purple tiles where I want to be purple, but this is where purple martins have been reported in the world. Now you could zoom in to a location, or what we're going to do for ease of use is in this location tab over here, we're going to put Tucson. I'm going to start typing Tucson. Arizona pops up. Select Tucson, and it's going to zoom in to all the purple martin sightings that it has. And the default, it has this way you can narrow it down by date and time. So what you're going to do here is, I'm especially interested in sightings from this year. So what I want you to do is to go into eBird, go into this option, this Explore, and then into the maps option, and we're going to look for observations of purple martins that seem like they should be included in our data set, is what we're looking for. So I have a lot of observations that people send to me directly or through our own sort of online survey where people could report if they saw martins using a saguaro or using an area. And I could just download like all of the eBird data probably, but that's not really what we want. We want sort of someone's best judgment, so your best judgment on sightings that seem significant that we should be putting on our own custom map from eBird. So I'm interested especially in data from this year. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to this date parameter, and you'll see the default is year-round, all years. So the default for eBird on these maps is to show all the data that's ever been submitted, that species and in this location. And you can scroll around on this map, or you can go further south. It takes a moment to load, but you can go further south, see what's going on. The reason these dots look different from each other is there's a key on the right here, and it says that the ones that have a little flame in them, would be the orange or blue. The ones that have a little flame are what are called hot spots. So these are recognized areas that are good for birding. So like an area like Sweetwater Woodlands is a hot spot, or Christopher Columbus Park is a hot spot. So areas where birders tend to go multiple times or multiple birders arrive are hotspots. And if they're orange, that means the observation is from the last 30 days. And if they're blue, then the observation is older than the last 30 days. And they could be 20 years older or 31 days older. So the red just indicates that it's a very recent sighting within 30 days. And it says this here, and there's a key here. So it says recent, and then older 30 plus days. So the reason some of the bubbles are smaller, the markers are smaller, those are what's known as personal locations. So if you're making a custom site, that's not considered a hotspot. So this would just be if you're doing a really specific location, like you're out birding on a trail, and the trail itself may be a hotspot, but you have a sighting and you want to put a really specific pin. That'd be a good example of when you use a personal location. If you want to do checklists from your own backyard, and it's not really a spot that's open to the public, that would be a great use of a personal location. So they can be used for areas that are just sort of personal and not open to the public, or you're trying to make a really specific location in an area that is. So there's a lot of reasons to do both that we don't have to get into, but there's a lot of reasons. Both of them have their advantages, doing hotspots or personal locations. So what I want to happen is to look for current year. So we're just going to hit year-round current year. I think that's a good way to do this. Year-round current year, and that's one option. Or you could set it manually too, and it takes a moment to reload. And now it's going to show you only observations from this year, which is great. So then what I need is sort of exploring. So this can be as intense as you think appropriate or as unintense as you think appropriate. I would suggest the region we're most interested in is the Tucson area. So this Tucson area up into sort of Mammoth, or, let's say all of Southeast Arizona is our interest area. And if you go too far out, they turn purple, the tile, then you can select the show point sooner if you'd like, and then turn back into dots. Or you can just zoom back in. And when you get zoomed in enough, they automatically turn back into bubbles and dots. But so these are all the observations from this year. Now, if you go up into the Mogollon Rim area up here, because we told it just like the forest part of Arizona, because we told it all purple martins, these are going to be the other subspecies. Up here in the forest is going to be the arboricola, which is the Latin subspecies name, or often there's the forest martins. So these are ones that will nest in like aspen trees. And it's not our desert martins at all. They're not saguaro martins. So we're interested more in saguaro martins. So we're going to go further south. So Tucson is a big hub for them. So a lot of them in Tucson, kind of the biggest area. But then they kind of go south from here into Green Valley. So I'd say sort of this area, like this Aravaipa area and south. Ajo, those could easily be desert martins. Let's see what's going on here. And this is a great example. So what I want you to do is to use some sort of logic, maybe starting north to south, then going west to east, something like that. Whatever makes sense to you. It doesn't matter, whatever makes sense to you. And to look for observations of martins, literally by just sort of clicking around. And when you see one that looks interesting or significant from this year, take a look at it. And if it looks significant, we're going to put that information into the spreadsheet. So just clicking on this one out of interest, because I was interested to see that there was martins out here in Ajo, which is really far west of Tucson, but there are some saguaros out there. Is looking at this one. So the flame means it's a hotspot, and when you click on it, it shows you all the observations that fit the criteria that we set. So we told it only this year. If I had let it be all years, there could well be 10 months of observations, since this would be multiple years, but it's set for just this year. And you see this icon that looks like a little speak bubble, like a text message speaking bubble. When you see that, that means that there's a comment on the species on that checklist. And this blue link will take you directly to the checklist that someone reported. So this is a great sign. We got 8 martins. It's dated for 8/25, and there's a comment. That's probably going to be a very interesting sighting that we're going to want to put on our spreadsheet. But then when I click this other hotspot, there's another really interesting one. And what this is telling me is that at this location at Highway 10, these dates for the current year, 2023, that Greg Gilson had martins multiple times with multiple different checklists that were submitted over different days. But this one with the camera, that means there's photos. So let's actually try that one out. Let's see how that looks. It's going to open a new tab. So it doesn't replace your tab. It opens a new tab. So you're going to want to habitually close these because you're going to get a lot of tabs. But we scroll down. We see that there's a date here. So all the information that which Greg put in his checklist is going to be here, including all the photos he submitted. So Greg has a date here, September 6th, 2023. He's got a time. It's got a URL at the top. That's going to be important in a moment. We're going to use that URL, literally the web address for this checklist that we open. You scroll down, you look for those Purple Martins. They're going to be generally relatively low on the list. Purple Martins tend to be a bit lower on the list. And he's got some great photos here. And these are photos of Martins flying around. So looking at these photos, what can we infer? Okay, what information can I gather? I'm gathering that these are indeed Purple Martins, and these are pretty nice photos, but it's not like they're sitting on a saguaro. So this isn't telling me much about what Greg saw. He doesn't have a comment saying anything, but he did see, some Purple Martins flying around. And I'm not seeing much here other than that this is a sighting. So you have to go with your best judgment. You think looks really interesting. So I might include this one just because of the fact he had them over multiple days, the fact that it's a relatively rare sighting. There aren't that many other sightings out at Ajo this year. So I might include it for that. Let's see what's going on with this one. So Brian reported 5 on August 21st. Now, I'm not expecting to see a comment or photos because that icon wasn't there. So Brian had 5. Now, that could be very interesting. And if I was doing this right now, I would actually probably include this one because it's the only one for this whole area that was reported this year of 2023. Now, if we went to year-round all years, we'd probably see a lot more sightings in this area. But for this year, this was really the only sighting in this area that was reported. So I probably put it in for that reason alone. But this one looks really interesting. So David Berryman on 8/25. It looks like Brian in the same hotspot, who's the one who had this one here, Brian Nicholas. He had 4 on July 25th. And then David had an 8 on 8/25. And he put a comment. So let's see what that is. I'm going to click that blue link. It's going to open the checklist in a new tab. And I look down. I see he's got lots of cool sightings here. He's got lots of cool observers. Now, he put 8 Purple Martin flyover. I do think this is pretty interesting. This is late August, the timing on this. The Martins tend to wrap up their nesting from mid to late August. These birds could well be nesting in the area or at least congregating. So what I'm going to do is put this information into my spreadsheet. So I have a spreadsheet that we've shared with you. That's not the right one. So I have a spreadsheet, and it is this one. Okay. So this spreadsheet that's on Google Sheets is where you can put in information that you're seeing on this eBird checklist. So I'm going to make this a bit smaller. This works better with 2 screens if you happen to have that option, or putting them side by side or something. But on this eBird checklist that we opened up from August 25th, we're going to get some information from here. So I've decided that this one is interesting. It looks significant as a data point, and we're going to. And again, that's all about your own gut instinct, what you think looks significant. So I'm going to go ahead and open spreadsheet. We're going to get some information. I think what I'll do is I'll make them side by side to try to make this work a little bit better. I have 2 screens, but I don't know how to share 2 screens. So we got our spreadsheet here. Bird information here from the one we've opened. All right, so here's this checklist. So the first thing I want is the location name, and you can just get that off this checklist here. And it's Ajo Sewage Ponds is what they put here. So Ajo Sewage Ponds. I'm going to click over here in the cell. I want to do paste without all the formatting. So I'm going to do Control-Shift-V. Just does that stupid location thing. I have to move it up. Sometimes this works better than others. You could also just right click and do, or you could click on it and then do paste special values only. That would work too. So let's try that. Let's try it that way instead. Let's read it over here. We're going to do Ajo Sewage Ponds. We're going to select it. Stop it. There we go. Select it. Do Control-C for copy. Come over here. We're going to do file. Do edit. Sorry, edit, paste special value only. That location often comes in, so I have to delete it and then take the little hand, move it up. Little hand. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes that weird location comes in. So then I want the date. So we're going to grab this date, 25 August 2023. Control-C for copy. Then in the correct cell, I'm going to do Control-Shift-V to paste. Okay, so that's how I like to do it. It's quick, Control V, hold those together, and then tap V to paste it. We want the time, 6:01. Time's going to be important because that's going to help us determine if this is like a roost or nesting or what kind of observation it is. Control Shift V to paste it in. Number of martins, so I'm looking at this list, and there's 8. I'm just going to put in 8. I do want a category of sighting. So this is going to be very similar to iNaturalist, where you're going to sort of decide what category this belongs in. Now, I'm not seeing much information here. The reason I chose this one is because it did have a comment of flyover. It's in an interesting location where there's not many other sightings around it, so I think it's significant when we want a dot on our map, that area. So when I'm going to look at these different options here, we have evidence of nesting, evidence of nest with so like sort of went from highest, far, and lowest. So evidence of nesting, picture and description, evidence of nest photo, evidence of nest with description, possible nest. So again, so whichever one seems to fit best to you. Evidence of a colony would be like, I saw lots of martins flying around near Soros. That would be evidence of a colony, a nesting colony. Arboricola means, oh, it's a forest martin that they're reporting because it's like up in the top of an aspen tree, or it's in the pine habitat, not in the desert habitat. Migration gathering, so that's like they're gathering away from soil habitat, but relatively near it because they're going to be getting ready to migrate. Citing, no other info. And then low quality record, audio recording, no photo, no audio, no description or description. So the bottom one shouldn't be popping up very much. So those wouldn't be very interesting sightings we would put in this spreadsheet. But things like citing no other info, I think is a good choice for this one. Because it's a sighting. It's a solid sighting. They had martins. And then this notes column is for if they had anything. So flyover. Clicked on purple martin by accident, so it took me to the page and purple martins. You can just arrow back away from it. So you put a comment here for highlight that. Control C. Come over here to notes. Control Shift V to paste. And then I want the URL of the settings. This is literally the web address of this checklist. So up here, I'm going to go and actually select the URL. And that means when we put this on a map, it will actually show when people click on it, they can see this whole checklist themselves, which is great because it links right back to where we got the information and everything's here. So that's all I'm doing for that one. So now I'm going to actually exit this tab. It's going to take me back to my map tab that I was looking at. And we're going to look for another one. Okay, so let's maybe come up here and see what's going on up here. Let's up near Florence. So this person at Quartzsite Drive, and it's interesting, you'll often see this. We get the same person reporting over and over again, which is really interesting because they're using that personal location over and over again, which eBird kind of pushes you towards when you enter lists. It really likes you to use the same locations over and over again if they make sense. So let's just look at what this person submitted. He has a August 23rd was his last one. Now, all these icons are telling me something. This is telling me there's notes on all these and that this one has a photo. If it has a photo, it may also have a note, but they tend to show the icon with the highest level. So if there's a photo, it's going to say photo, even if there's notes and a photo. Just out of curiosity, let's click on the photo. One with the photo. And it's got lots of detailed information about lots of birds. This is a very careful observer, which is interesting to note. So they have photos here, and they have a time, female type landed on wire. So this is a really careful eBird. This is a lot of information. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this one and see what else they have. Oops, sorry, this is the one I was clicking on. So let's see what they put on the most recent one. Lots of information. So Martin, an F for flyover at a specific time. So this is someone who is doing, they've been migration study. That's really interesting. Light was excellent in terms of variety, good numbers. Someone who's doing an observation lookout, which is pretty cool. They had 9 on this one. So maybe we'll go with this highest one and document this, that they're getting lots of martins here. For martins, so 5 for 5 singing, very high, same thing. So they're getting a lot of martins in the area. So we're going to go ahead and grab this information. So I'm just going to do this one that has the high count, 9. And or if there was one that was particularly interesting, like it had a nice photo or had information about a nest, whichever one you think looks just the most appropriate, most interesting. So first, I'm going to grab the location. So I'm going to do Quartzsite Drive. Control C for copy. I'm over here to the spreadsheet. I'm going to do Control Shift V to paste it. Yeah, I think if you grab it from the right to the left, I think it stops doing that location thing. All right, so we want the date. Gonna grab the date here, Control C. Put it, you can also just type it in if you want. This is just how I prefer to do it. There's a lot of ways to do any of these things. 5:35 a.m. Control C over here. Control Shift V to paste it. What was the count on Martin's again? 9. 9. And scroll over. If I had both screens going, I could see it all. But so this is just also citing. I don't want to say no other info, but it is sort of no other nesting info or like it's not a whole lot. If we're looking for nesting sorrows or migration gatherings, that kind of thing, or possible colonies where you get clusters of sorrows that they might be nesting, we just don't know which one yet. Nothing this person put in this data tells me anything about that. So I'm just going to put citing, no other info. So can't really tell if this is a nesting area or what. They're not really giving us that information. So I'm going to grab this information that they put in here with times because they're doing a migration checkpoint, which is interesting. So we're just going to click over here, Control Shift D, paste it. It's going to spill over, which is fine. I'll grab this URL at the top, copy, put it in here, and it's going to paste right over that. So it doesn't really, just kind of covers some of that. Okay, so that's that one. That's all we need to get. For any citing that looks interesting to you from exploring around in this map feature, that's what we're going to put in the spreadsheet. So let's see what's going on here, and they do the blue ones too. There might be interesting blue ones. So here at Casa Grande, this person has a speak. They wrote something in a note, a speak bubble, and it just says flyover. Okay, that's not super helpful. I mean, if I could just go look on eBird to see some of this stuff. What we're trying to do is try to parse out kind of the highest quality, most informative sites from this big splatter of eBird data so we can make a more sort of focused, refined map. That's the main goal here. So let's see what's going on with this one. And the only way to do it is just kind of click around and look around. So it's really interesting. You're going to see a lot of information, a lot of interesting stuff about what people were seeing with Purple Martins and where this year on Bird, but it does take some time to sit here and click around and see what's going on. So Doug Genesis here from June 14th, which is pretty early. So it says parent suitable habitat probable. So this is a good clue. So he puts some interesting information here. It says 2 Purple Martin, breeding behavior, pair and suitable habitat probable. Now this is a breeding code. These are very standardized. And what Doug is saying here is that he thinks that this could be a nesting pair. That's what Doug's saying. And he's got a photo, which is pretty cool. So we're going to take this one. So we're going to grab Parklink Drive here. You have to sort of get the, that's not what I wanted it to do. If you click on that location, it takes you to a map. If you just back arrow, it gets out of it. So this icon takes you to a map, which can be kind of cool. But we're just going to do this. I'm going to grab this. Not that. I'm going to grab this Parklink Drive. Control C. We're here. Control Shift V to paste it. We're going to grab the date. 14 June 2023. Control C. Control Shift V, so I only get, so it doesn't bring all that formatting. The time, 1:32 p.m. Control C. And Control Shift V. I need a number. Give 2. Now this looks to me like I'm going to put this down as I'm going to call this evidence of nesting, pick and description, because they put it in the description. They have a photo here of a martin. Well, see, pick up. When I say pick for evidence of nesting, I mean like birds sitting on a sorrow. So I'm just going to do evidence of nesting description, because that's really what's convincing me here is this description. So I'm going to grab this breeding and behavior code, parent suitable habitat. We'll put that in here for notes. Control Shift B. All right. So then we're going to take the URL up here. Control C. Put this here. Control Shift B. And that's it. That's it for that one. So we got it. Oh, actually. Okay, so there is another step in here. So I'm going to alter the spreadsheet right now. So moving forward, we're going to do something else while we're here as well. So, yeah. Okay. After category of citing, where should I put this? I just realized something I'm missing that's really important. Okay. Before category of citing. Oh, not what I wanted. we need to put coordinates in here. So coordinates are help us see what's going on with where areas are. So what I'm going to do is for this one, before we leave this page that I have open of this checklist, we want coordinates of where this exact location is. So what we're going to do is we are going to click on this icon. It's like kind of the last step. It's going to take us to this map of where this sighting is from. So what I need to do is it's going to show us a pin of where it is. You can see the layers and maybe see the habitat, sort of get a sense of the habitat. So this is where Doug's reporting his list from. So we're going to take, I don't want this bigger number up here. This is like literal latitude and longitude. What I want is decimal degrees, which is a far more sort of popular format that works directly into Google Maps. So this smaller set of numbers here, that's what I want. So we're going to grab this 32, and we want, and there's a comma. We don't want that comma. We want the first set of numbers before the comma. That's going to be our X. Control Shift B, put it in there. It's going to get rid of any zeros at the end. That's totally normal. So I want the second number, negative 111. I want that negative sign. Control C. And so that's what's after the comma. If you end up bringing a comma in by accident, just go ahead and delete the comma. But I don't want the comma in there. It should look like this. Okay, so sorry I forgot that before. That's pretty important to have those coordinates in there. So I'm going to go ahead and you put back arrow, but it's going to take you right back to that checklist. So if you forgot anything like the date, you can always arrow back. You got it. We're going to do right here. It should take you right back to the checklist. Is it not? Yeah, it should. Took a couple of clicks there, but yeah, went back to the checklist, which is where I got the coordinate information was from this map icon. So we're going to go ahead and I'm done with this checklist now, so we're going to go ahead and close it. So we got that sighting. That was an interesting, that was good sighting. Let's see what's going on up here. This one. So it looks like Tim found some up here. Or some, yeah, Tim found some at Beehive Tank. He's not really saying much. So there's no comments written. There's no photos submitted. So that's something I could just get just looking at an eBird map. So we're going to ignore that one. We're looking at this one. This one has some photos. That's interesting. Let's take a look at this. So on 621, see, he's got a lot of stuff here. It says Purple Martin Hesperia. And he's got some really nice photos. I know Timmy's a good photographer. Some really good photos here of Martin sort of being cool and flying around, which is interesting to look at. Then I went to the next species, which is interesting to look at, but isn't telling me much. So let's close this one and look at another one he submitted on a different date, or a different person actually. So Jim Hoagland on 5/22 submitted a list here with Martins, and he's showing some Martins, but he's not saying much. But the fact that this is a tank or a lake is interesting to me. So we're going to go ahead and include this one, and we'll do the latest one. So this one on 6/29 or 6/21 from Tim with photos. We're going to go ahead and grab this one. So again, we're going to do the name. So the lake tank. Put over here. So that was Control C. I did that. I did Control Shift V, paste. Then 21 June 2023. Grab that. Control C. Control V, paste. Time 8:04 a.m. Control C. Boop. Number of Martins. So this one has 9. So we're going to put 9. And then we need coordinates. Before that, let's get the notes in the URL. So notes here. It doesn't have any notes here. It's really that blank. We need the URL up here. That in here. Control V, that in. Now we need the description. So what he has here is just sort of, this is a sighting with no other photo. In fact, I'm going to add. Category of the drop down because this is the new one. So let's see, sort of like gathering, like something like tank or water. Where I'm going to put. I'm going to add that as a new category. Tank or water. I'm going to move that up below migration gathering. Okay, it's done. Okay, let's apply it all. Okay. Okay. So we're going to add this new category of tanker water because they're at a lake, so they're near water. I think that's really interesting that it's near water. So now we need the coordinates. So from this checklist now that I'm done with it, otherwise done with it, you click this map icon. It looks like a kind of a folded map with a dot and a little thing pops up that says view with Google Maps. I think if you click anywhere on this blue link, it's going to take us to this map function. And it did. And wow, it's a big piece of water. That's pretty cool. It's really interesting to see. And we're going to grab these coordinates. So I want the first set of numbers first. Those are the X. They're going to often start with something like 32. And then the second set, which is going to always be negative. It's just the way coordinates work here in Arizona. Negative 111 point, all these little numbers. I'm going to grab that. Come over here, control Shift V. And you're going to often see negative 111 for the Y or sometimes negative 110. That's what most things are in Southern Arizona in terms of coordinates. And these numbers, if you drop them to Google Maps, will take you to that exact pin, which is really cool. So, okay. So that's, I think, a good sense of what we're doing. And once I'm done with this time, I'm going to close it. That list is gone. So just maybe look at another one just for fun. And then let's see what's going on here. Okay, we're on back. Neosho Ranch Preserve. Had some sightings. We put comments on 2 different days. Let's just see what Ron put here. It says, heard the loud two flight call, took a moment to find them. They're much higher than I thought, several hundred feet higher, 4 adult males. That's pretty interesting. That's exciting. Yeah, this would be a good one to go ahead and grab. So that strikes me as pretty interesting. Now, for a category for this one, I'd probably go with observation, citing no other info. I think that'd be a good one for that because he's definitely at Martin's. It's an interesting location. It's got an interesting thought that they're flying up ahead. But there's really nothing about whether they're nesting, are they near a pond or water, are they a migration gathering, and it's 4 birds. So I think citing other info makes sense for this one. Okay. All right, so that's how we're going to do the eBird one. Now we did write out some information about the iNaturalist stuff, but I just want to cover that briefly while we're doing a visual formatting. iNaturalist is going to work a little bit differently, where it's its own tab here on the same spreadsheet. Now this is one where everything's already been entered because I was able to download this from iNaturalist. And what's going on is, I don't know if you're familiar with iNaturalist, but it's another free way to report sightings, but iNaturalist is for all sorts. So eBird's just for birds, and iNaturalist is for anything. You can put plants, mushrooms, insects, mammals, birds, whatever can go into iNaturalist. And we have a project set up. iNaturalist lets you do something called a project. So on this spreadsheet, make it small again. We have iNaturalist. So here we go. Here's iNaturalist, where iNaturalist is a free website and it lets you create projects. So I did. I created a project of Desert Purple Martin. So it gathers for me all the sightings of Purple Martins, and we have downloaded that and I've added the new ones to this spreadsheet. So we worked on this last year on the same data set, and it had we already went through the process of working on this for the first 208 records, and now we're starting with the new one, starting with 209. So what you're going to do is everything's already in here, the date and time. You don't have to worry about that. And this one is a little bit more of just sort of going to this first URL that's listed in column L. You're going to click on that. It's going to open the sighting that's in that spreadsheet. And what I need you to do is look at it and decide what category it should have. So we're going to present it on the map with different categories. So looking at this, we got here this person, Wendy Birds, BYRV, who has a lot of observations, have these martins, and they have a location here, which they are required to have to do an iNaturalist sighting, pretty much required. They have the photo. They don't have much else. There's no description down here. There's no information about what they saw. They're not saying anything about alive or dead or anything like that. So what they have here is some martins seen in May is what they have. So we're going to classify this as a sighting, no other info. Okay, sighting, no other info. Now, the reason I have these lower grade options in here, like no photo, no description, description only, sighting, low quality record, those don't make that much sense in eBird, although I'm trying to keep it all consistent. Those don't make that much sense in eBird because why would you take a sighting unless it's of high quality, right? But they do make sense on this tab for iNaturalist because this is just all of them. I'm not really picking and choosing, it's all of them. And you have to decide. Now, sometimes there's going to be ones that come in here that aren't really very high quality, but they're still going to be here, so we can label them as such. So let's look at this one now. Only best. So we're going to go here to this column L. This is all I need to happen for these ones is to review them, look at them, and decide what category they should have in this column K, this blue column. So I'm going to go to this one here. Let's just see what they have. I'm going to click on it, it's going to open its own link. And it's just kind of fun to see what people submit too. So this is great. Where is this? This is Baja. And I do have this project set to include Baja because you do get nesting desert martins in that area. So this is like the tip of Baja, it looks like. Yeah. Oh, it's an island. Isla Manzarite. Okay, an island. They have a really cool photo here. Sometimes there'll be multiple photos and you can like arrow over, but this one just has one photo. Looks like here's a female really blending in. See it on this photo. It's a really neat photo. So they're on a cliff or something. There's a female type, there's two males. Just like he's singing. But okay, just put them aside. They didn't write anything about this, but this is still a cool sighting. And the Favex, it'll really neat. Yeah, it's definitely ID'd correctly. That's the thing too. You can see here where other people crowdsource. How iNaturalist works. They're crowdsourcing. They're agreeing that this is a purple martin. Is what's going on here. So from the spreadsheet, this is the one we clicked on. I'm going to call this sighting. No other info. In fact, I'm going to add something to this, which I think will make this a little bit better. I'm going to add some more options here. We're going to call this sighting, meaning that I can't really tell if they're nesting or what's going on. It's just a sighting of martins. So martins are there. I'm going to say sighting photo. Sure, spell it right. Okay, we're just sighting description. Meaning that there's a sighting and they have some stuff written. So that'd be like that eBird one where it was like birds flying over. Like that would be a description, but with just a sighting. The description only, and then there's already a known photo. Okay, so we're gonna move these up with the other sighting. So photo, description. I'm gonna do one more sighting, photo, and description. Now I don't expect you to change any of these. I'm just doing this on the fly because a new need has popped into my head. Okay, so we have sighting, description, sighting, photo, and description, and then sighting, no other information. So no photo. Save that. So I think this is going to be good to give us some options here. So for this one, this iNaturalist one we were just looking at, excuse me, this one here, they have a good photo and it's a sighting, but I can't really tell if they're nesting. They're not sitting on a cactus. They're not, there's no talk of them going into a nest. They're not carrying food or something. So we're going to just call this one sighting photo. Okay. I think that'll be a little more clear from now on. So let's look at this next one. And that actually isn't the right one. So it's actually, if you need to use. So actually, this one. Check out this next one. Makes a lot of sense to go in order for that very reason. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, martin sitting on a stick. It's in La Paz. This is in Mexico. I did restrict this to areas. This is I did restrict this project, so this is in Baja, where you do get desert martins. And let's see if they're saying anything about it. No, it's definitely a martin, but one way you can tell is one by looking at it yourself, but also I can see here that another person's weighed in and said it was a martin, so that's good. It means it's been sort of approved by someone else. And I'm not seeing really anything else. There's a martin sitting on a stick, which is cool. So we're going to call that sighting photo. Okay, so that's what we're doing here is doing some analysis. So the iNaturalist one, they're already chosen for you. It's just all of them basically that have been submitted, and we're going to go through and categorize. eBird is a little more sort of your decision making really coming into play here. We're going to look around that map set for this year, and you're going to see which ones look interesting, and then put those in the spreadsheet on the eBird tab. So it's quite a lot of information. We're just trying to hone it into, or for iNaturalist, it's all of it. We're trying to categorize it. For eBird, there's a ton of data on eBird, and we're trying to just get sort of the greatest hits almost to put on that for this year. So I hope that makes sense. If not, please let me know, let Olia know, and we can answer any questions you have. But I hope this video made it a little easier to understand. Okay, so thank you. And I hope you have fun. You're going to learn a lot of interesting stuff just reviewing these different iNaturalist reports, as well as looking around in eBird to see what people are reporting and how people do their checklists. I think will be really interesting and show you quite a lot. Thank you.